Hello friends, once again I am happy in welcoming you all to this video series on saluting women in history. The quote shown as a clipping is true since the sisters share a special bond that's hard to define, and they do make the bad times good and the good times unforgettable. Sisterhood is said to be powerful, and in India there is a separate festival to honor sisters which is known as Raksha Bandhan, and it is celebrated with great zeal and devotion by all sections of the society. The bond of deep longing sister and brother and the idealization of this bond are attested in many places throughout Tamil Nadu. The sister and brother relationship is said to be very precious, and from the ancient times there is a sense of responsibility of the sister towards her brother and vice versa. I am extremely happy and proud to highlight in this video about the first prominent Tamil woman who lived 1000 years ago in the Chola soil. She is none other than Kundavai Nachiyar or Kundavai Paratiyar, the elder sister of the great Chola Emperor Rajaraja. Compared to the commonality of the princesses since ancient times, this illustrious Chola princess stands apart. Kundavai had a great love and affection towards her father, brother and her husband, but her top priority was always the welfare of the Chola kingdom, and she was dare to sacrifice anything for the same. Kundavai was born at Tirukovilur to Parantaka Chola II, who is also known as Sundara Chola, and his queen Vanavan Mahadevi during the latter half of the 10th century. Her elder brother was Aditya Karikalan and her younger brother was Arulmozhi Varman. Princess Kundavai was an embodiment of beauty, intelligence, diplomatic steadfastness, and stands quite unique among all the other women during her time. The intense love for the mother might, under some circumstances, be converted to intense attachment between the sister and brother. It happened in the case of Kundavai and Arulmozhi Varman, because when Kundavai's mother performed sati after the death of Sundara Chola, Arulmozhi Varman looked to his elder sister for guidance and affection, which were given to him aplenty by her. Amidst the political intrigues and conspiracies in the Chola kingdom, Kundavai brought up her younger brother with great care and affection. It is also to be mentioned here that when her elder brother Aditya Karigalan was plotted and killed by their enemies, Princess Kundavai stood like a rock and played a huge role in shaping young Arulmozhi Varman to become one of the greatest monarchs of India. In spite of having a great responsibility of bringing up her younger brother, Kundavai does fall in love with a brave and adventurous warrior prince of Bana clan known as Vallavarayar Vandiyadevar. Princess Kundavai married him, but even from her marriage, she stood indispensable in her love for the Chola kingdom, which shows her great patriotism for her mother country. Being a Chola princess, showed keen interest in her country, and even after her marriage, there is no proof to say that she left her mother's place along with her husband. Besides, she makes her husband Vandiyadevar himself to involve into various difficult situations for the sake of her brother's safety and welfare of the Chola kingdom. Her husband Vandiyadevar has to be complimented here very much, because he also joined hands with her and stayed permanently in the Chola country and proved his mettle as the chief of the Samantas till the period of her nephew Rajendra Chola. Arulmozhivarman showed utmost respect to his sister Kundavai Nachiyar, who tackled every tricky situation with her intelligence. She was highly esteemed throughout South India, and that's probably why princesses of many royal homes are sent under her care. Almost as a matron, she grooms these princesses in arts, music, and literature. One interesting incident has to be highlighted here. Kundavai Nachiyar indulged in the matchmaking for her brother Arulmozhivarman and seeks to train Vanati, her friend, to bloom into a perfect wife for him. While doing so, when she came to know that there were serious plots happening in the marriage of her brother, Kundavai warned him in her own subtle manner about the dangers of losing one's heart and mind. Therefore, she never even gave choice to her brother to decide about his marriage and concluded everything on her own. Thankfully, Arulmozhivarman realizes the worth of her wise counsel and obeyed her to the core. Kundavai Nachiyar was considered to be a diplomatic mentor with great stability in mind and never changes or adopt herself for any circumstance. She takes the right decisions at the right time, and it is important to bring forth these interesting incidents here. Firstly, when her elder brother Aditya Karikala was killed by conspirators, Kundavai and Arulmozhivarman knows who were responsible for the murder. But on the advice of her sister, he did not take any action immediately and waited for at least 13 years or so. When Rajaraja Chola ascended the throne in 985 AD, after the death of his uncle Uttama Chola, an inquiry was done on the murder of his elder brother, and the people responsible for the same were punished. Secondly, whenever Kundavai realizes that the Chola kingdom is under danger, she summons her brother back home immediately, and he always obeyed her promptly. And finally, when Rajaraja inherited a kingdom, the boundaries were limited to the traditional Chola territory centered around Tanjavur, Tiruchirappalli region. But he turned it into an efficiently administered empire which possessed a powerful army and a strong navy. Kundavai inspired her brother into taking up the mantle of securing Ilangai for Chola kings. She wanted him to become a separate sovereign king and rule over Ilangai because she truly believed that he was born to rule. As an outcome, he is said to be the first ruler from India who invaded and captured many parts of Ilangai with the help of his navy. Thus, Kundavai had formulated ambitious plans diplomatically for her brother and raised him up successfully to become a finest warrior and a noble king that the world will remember forever. Kundavai Nachiyar assisted Rajaraja Chola even in his administration and the management of temples. For the first time in the history of monarchy, Rajaraja Chola got coronated as the ruler of the Chola Empire through the means of democracy. He was the first ruler to introduce the popular Kudavole system for selecting the village officials. Another significant event is, with the motivation gained from her sister Kundavai, Rajaraja the Great embarked on a mission to recover the hymns after hearing short excerpts of Devaram in his court. top of all these things, her remarkable deed, which has to be well complimented, was the establishment of a hospital in Tanjavur for people's welfare. An inscription belonging to Rajendra Chola mentions that she bought some land and 9 house sites from the Mahasabha of Rajakesari Chaturvedi Mangalam for the maintenance of a free dispensary founded by her at Tanjavur, and she named it as Sundara Chola Vinnagar Adular Salai after her father Sundara Chola. The land given by her for the same was known as Maruthuvakani. Kundavai Nachiyar identified herself to be an independent and self-confident woman, spent last years of her life in her father's house, dying in the 7th year of the reign of her nephew Rajendra Chola. The royal women during the Chola period enjoyed respect and access to property and wealth of the kingdom. Like their male counterparts, they had the liberty and freedom to quench their spiritual desire and took up various welfare programs for people's benefit. As a Chola princess, Kundavai Nachiyar rose to a position equal to that of the great monarchs, and it is very much relevant to state her as the architect of the Chola Empire as well. Rajaraja, the great Chola emperor, had a deep respect for her sister, and it is to be mentioned here that this sister-brother relationship was very special, and it has been well portrayed in the world-famous Tamil historical novel Ponniyin Selvan by Amarar Kalpi Krishnamurthy. She has engraved her name deep in the history of Tamil Nadu by showing her tolerant religious attitude and performing enormous philanthropical activities. Kundavai Nachiyar truly sets a fine example of how a royal princess should behave, and history is much indebted to her for being the guiding force of the 2 great Chola kings. Her legacy has been memorialized in the inscriptions, temples, icons, irrigation tanks, novels, books and films. Found to be a strict matron and a diplomatic mentor, Princess Kundavai, when scratched the surface, we could find a warm, gracious woman who is every inch a queen herself. And no woman in the history of South India have established her name and fame as this most famous Kundavai. With all these facts highlighted in this video, Kundavai Nachiyar, a diplomatic mentor, is a woman to be given a big salute in history. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video with another woman personality.